Okay guys, so this demonstration will serve as an introduction to Adobe InDesign. So first of all, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open up a new document, okay? So we're going to go File, File, New, and Document, okay? When we go File, New Document, it opens up into the screen, which will open up here shortly. There we go. It might take a little while here. There's a few programs open. Now notice, first of all, that it moves into, by default many times, into this measurement unit called picas, okay? We don't use picas anymore for the most part. I know some establishments probably do. Picas was used quite a few years ago in the newspaper industry as kind of an industry standard. It's not quite used as an industry standard anymore, although you might run into it from time to time. Generally, whenever we're setting a document size, we are going to set it in inches, okay? So by default here, we're going to create an 8.5 by 11 inch document, okay? 8.5 width, 11 height, and we're going to set this to one page. If we needed to, say we knew that a newspaper or a magazine was going to be, say, 56 pages, we could go 56, and it would set that amount of pages out there. Then we'll get into that as we move along. For right now, we're going to set it to one page. Our default gutter, which is what we call our bleed as well, the border around our page would be set to this number by default. So we're going to leave that there. If an employer, contractor wanted you to have less bleed, you could set it here, okay? Also called gutter. And also set for the column gutters as well. We'll get into that at another point. There's also margins, which by default these are actually your bleeds here. Sometimes this option does not show up depending on your preferences. These are your actual bleeds right here, the 0.5. I could set this to 0.25. That would be a standard for me. But at the same time, you know, in my level of design, I don't really focus on the margins. I generally use my rulers for those margins, okay? Plus I test it through printing. Okay, so we're just going to create this here now. Go create. And this is our untitled document. Now notice right off the bat here that this line, kind of this border, separates the outside of our document. This is what you would call your bleed, okay? This would be also your margin. Generally, when I'm working through a regular workflow, I would actually eliminate this. For anybody starting out for InDesign, I would definitely maintain this for now until you get used to how much space you should or should not use. The reason we have a margin is because generally all types of print scenarios there will be some clipping involved, meaning that some of the material would be cropped off of your of a print job. Generally, anything out in this outside line. Generally, a good portion of this would stay though. If I had to give you an estimate of the averages, I would say that if I draw this line here out to about 1/4 of an inch, outside this line is generally what is maintained outside of this line is generally what would be clipped or lost, okay? But they do recommend this inside line for safety. So I'm just going to get rid of that, delete. So right now we're in a certain view mode, okay? If I go to screen mode, right now we're in what's called normal mode, okay? If we want to go to preview mode, notice that all of our guides, etc., are disappear basically. Your rulers are still set up here. If you wanted to get rid of your rulers, you could go View and Hide Rulers, okay? Shortcut for that is Command R. So I'm just going to put that here. Command plus R, hide rulers. Okay. And back to the demo here. So what I'm going to do here basically is I'm going to, just as a demonstration here, is try to copy one of these pages, try to mimic one of these pages, okay? So let's say I pick this page right here, okay? This is actually a magazine. We'll take a quick look through this. This is a magazine that I had started just as a fan page for my favorite basketball team, the Boston Celtics. So I have this started as a design. And as you can see, it scrolls down with different types of pages. Now these are all laid out in a certain, what they call pagination, which means it's set in a certain order for being printed in order according to how a magazine, this particular magazine, should look. And we'll get into more about templating, etc., and reusing pages, master pages, etc. But what I'm going to do here right now is I'm going to try to copy this one page, which is this Brad Stevens page right here. Okay, I'm just going to extend this a little bit so we have a little bit more room. Drag that down, and there we go. So first of all, I'm just going to name this page. So I'm going to go File, Save As. And I already have a folder created here, and I'm inside that folder, Celtics 2019-20. Now it's going to be very important that you do place all your files for a particular InDesign project in one folder, okay? So whenever you're creating any type of media in InDesign, you do need to have all your files in the same folder. Okay, so I'm going to call this, let's go B Stevens _ Celts. And just to notate it, I'm going to go demo, because it's for a class demo. And let's create it there. So now that I have my document saved, I'm just going to take a look back here and try to devise a plan of how I want to make this look. Now I know up here I have a background piece, and I'll just identify with some of the things I have here. So this is one piece up here, and I believe this page might be locked, and it is. We'll get into locking pages and what they call overriding master pages as well later in the course, but I'm just going to go to that page here right now and override all master pages. Like I said, don't worry about this right now. This is just to show you the pieces that I have in here already. So I have a background piece right here, another image here, and notice that these are all inside these type of rectangular type blocks, okay? These are created using this, the rectangular frame tool, okay? Anytime we place an image, we always want to place it inside a rectangular frame tool. So moving back to this page here, I'm going to use my rectangular frame tool. Like I said, you'll use this quite often in InDesign, okay? This is basically creating a window for a graphic, and I'll explain that here in a second. So I'm just going to drag this out here, and I'd say it's about right here. And of course, if I wanted to be specific, I would just create a template page from what I already have, and it would be the exact size. Let's say it's about that size. Now another important command is Command D. And let's see if that worked. Command D. Now it seems that the Command D is not working inside this inside InDesign here. I believe I need to update it. As you can see here, Command D is the shortcut key for place, okay? So File, Place. What I want to do now is find the folder and find the graphic that I want to put in there, okay? So let's see here. So our InDesign folder, I have this under Resources, and I'm going into this folder here, and let's see which graphic that this is. I believe it's this one. So I'm just going to open that. Now notice that the picture came in here, but it doesn't look quite right, does it? It doesn't look like it should be where it is where it should be. Okay, I'm just going to take a look back here, and I'm just going to put another command here as well. So I'm going to go Command plus D. That is place. Okay, images, PDFs, graphics. Put a like on that. Okay, and back to InDesign here. So what I want to do here now is I want to move this graphic so it's more acceptable for how it should look. So right now, we're going to explain what I mean by using the place tool and using one of these rectangular frame tools. The rectangular frame actually creates a window. Okay, so if I want to move this graphic around inside this window I've created, this is how I would do it. So I've used the sub-select tool here. They call it the direct selection tool. Okay, what this allows me to do is to grab this graphic that's inside this window. If you look at here, this is the size of the rectangular frame. If I hover over it, notice you can see a much larger outline. Okay, you can see right, if you notice right down here when I hover over, see that line? When I click here, I can now use my arrow keys to move this up or down within that window. Okay, so this is how we can basically use the rectangular frame tool to set a size for our graphic, even if our graphic isn't that size by default. This reduces, of course, the need to say crop in InDesign, or sorry, crop in Photoshop, etc., and other related tasks. So I'm just going to bring this down here to what I had in the other document. I think it was somewhere along the lines of this logo. Okay. And it might have been about right here. I'm just going to look back at the other document here. And it wasn't exactly the same graphic, but let's pretend that it was the same graphic. And I'm just going to try to mimic what was there. And it was about like this. Okay. Actually, what I'll do though, I'll see if I can find the other graphic here. So notice while I'm on that direct select tool, I deleted the image, okay, but it didn't delete my frame. Okay. Basically, what I did, I'll undo that here. I'm gonna click off of there. My direct select, I clicked on that image. Okay, and you have to do it with the direct select, or you're gonna select the frame. But I just want to click that image inside, and I hit my delete button. Okay, and again, notice that that frame is still there. Now, if I hit the main selection tool, it will actually move that window, that rectangular frame. Okay, but we don't want to do that. It's already in the place where we want it, so we'll just leave it there. Okay, so again, I'm going to go File and Place, and of course, the shortcut is Command D. And let's try to find the other graphic that we were referring to. And before I do that, I'm just going to go back to this graphic here, and let's see what my graphic is actually called. Let's see here. I believe it's that header Celtics. This is your links palette. We won't go over that right now. That's more of an advanced topic for future. But you will go over it. And let's try this again. So my Command D is not going to work. Let's go File, Place. And I believe it's this graphic here. Yeah. So as you can see, this graphic was meant for a 2-page spread. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to move over this section here. And I'm just moving it over. You can click and drag this too, but it is much easier to use your arrow keys in the scheme of things. Let's go like that. And I'm going to hit back on my main selection tool here just to move this up a little bit. There we go. Now notice that there's a whole bunch, let's look at a scenario. Notice that there's a whole bunch of graphic way over here on the left side that we're not using. But let's say, okay, there's a piece of this graphic that I want to use, but it's not in that graphic. Here's a way that you could combine this graphic and not have to modify it in Photoshop. What I'm going to do, because I know for there's a very strong chance that the background around the logo part here has the same background color as right here. So I believe in this area here, for this scenario, I can fit it in. So here's what I'm going to do. Click here. I'm going to duplicate this. Command C, Command V. And that's the exact duplicate of that. Just went Command C and V on the rectangular frame tool. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this graphic back over. This time I am going to drag it because it will take quite a while. And notice that it's quite a bit bigger here, so I'm just going to bring the size of this in. Now if I want to minimize the size of that graphic inside the rectangular frame tool, I'm going to hold down Shift and Option and drag it in, like so. Now notice that the graphics look a little bit distorted. This generally happens in InDesign because we usually work in a less quality mode. I'm just going to show you this. We go View and we go Display Performance. Right now it's in typical display. Okay. If I go to High Quality Display, notice that these graphics sharpen up. Okay. But sometimes if you leave it in High Quality Display, it will severely slow down your workflow. Okay, and it'll take more memory. So generally when I'm working in InDesign, I will leave it in Display Performance, Typical Display. Now, you might ask what Fast Display is used for. Fast Display will be the fastest display possible, but it'll be the least quality possible as well. Fast Display is generally used if you're going to, say, open up a very large document. Let's say, I would say a 70-page or higher magazine with a lot going on there, a lot of memory that needs to be used for that. I would use Fast Display, change what you need to change, and then save it as a PDF to see the proper display, the actual display. So that's the little note out there on Fast Display, okay? And I'm just going to write a quick note here. Display 1830. Display types 1830. And of course that time is never exact, but it's very close on to when we started talking about that topic. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I believe I have enough room there now. I'm just going to move this back over a little bit. I need to make that a little bit smaller. So it fits in there. And I'll move it back over here. I believe this is going to work here now. So now what I'm going to do, take this area and move it up. Not exactly. So as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm overlaying the same graphic on top of itself. Okay. This would take a little bit of playing around, modifying, testing, trial and error. But I believe I'm close to having it here now. Not quite, no. If I double click here, it'll take me to the rectangular frame tool. I'm just going to extend that out a bit, like so. And as you can see, I would have to play around with this a bit more. I would actually have to probably make this one a little bit smaller. So that way, I can move this over and give the other piece a little bit more room. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but where we've already started this, I do want to show you a proper solution. A little bit more. Almost. Should move this piece over here now so we can get the B in there. And as you can see, I would need to make these a little bit smaller because they are kind of tight together. But as you can see, that's a way where both graphics have the same background that we kind of juxtapose these together so that they do work and complement each other. Okay. So let's say that's our border there. So as you can see, all these are graphics, and we place them by using different rectangular frame tools. Okay. So I'm just going to save that, and let's go back to our Celtics original graphic here. So I'm going to try to recreate some of this here now. So now to create a text frame, a little bit different from, let's say, Photoshop, and it has some similarities to Illustrator. Instead of just placing and clicking the T onto your screen, what you want to do is click and drag a space for you to write text into. Okay? And you'll see your blinking cursor here. And if I went Brad Stevens and Coach. Now what I'm going to do here, instead of trying to, for the sake of time, instead of trying to find that font and style exactly, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go back over here to my other document. Command C and Command V. Okay? And of course that kept the style that was already there. Just going to line that up. So again, for a text frame, click our text frame here and click and drag it out. Okay? If you click the, notice here too that if you click the main selection tool, it will look like any regular rectangular frame, but notice that this little circle here shows up, which actually shows you, which is a good sign to let you know that this is text, okay? That little circle. And of course, to really test it, you can, up here, I have a little square around my cursor. If I go down here, inside this box, that little square around the cursor disappears, meaning that this is a text frame. Ideally, that it already has text inside it, but of course we have a blank one right now. So I'm just going to click back on that and delete. One key tip here too for InDesign, you never want to make text boxes or rectangular frame boxes larger than they need to be. So I'm just going to write that in here. Tip. Don't make rectangular and text boxes larger than needed. They can extra space can affect print quality / accuracy, okay? Just put a like on that. Okay, so back to InDesign here. So let's take a look here, excuse me. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place in these graphics, okay? So I'm going to make a rectangular frame here. Excuse me. And I'm just going to place it in here. Like so. And now I'm going to place the graphic of Brad Stevens here. So Command D. Excuse me. And of course the Command D doesn't work on this version because it needs an update. So I'm going to go File and Place. And let's see here. And this is the graphic here. And I'm just going to adjust that a little bit here. Like so. And I think this frame needs to be a little bit larger actually. Let's go about right there. Excuse me. Now notice on this copy, and it actually is not quite that tall, so I'm just going to bring it down here a little bit, extend it a little bit, like so. That looks about a little bit more accurate there, pretty close. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this green section here now. So what I'm going to do just to kind of keep a consistent size here with this graphic, so I'm going to click here, Command C, Command V, and just use this as a template, okay? Get rid of the image. You want to keep track of where this is, because once you delete the image, if you're not hovered over it, it'll just look like there's nothing there, okay? Even though your frame is still there, you just can't see it. So I'm going to click here. Now, this is where we get into swatches, okay? So I'm just going to put a note here. Swatches 2855. And what we're going to do with this now, I'm going to click on this, and this swatches palette is here and it's already open. If it wasn't open, we go to Windows and we go to Color and Swatches, okay? This controls your colors of your fill and your stroke, okay? And you've seen a bit of this through Illustrator most likely. This is your fill here, and the bottom portion here is your stroke, okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add kind of a lime green to this fill. And we'll click on this color right here, and it's already set there, like so, okay? If a color wasn't there, I could click on this toolbar drop down and go new color swatch. Let's say I wanted, say this color here. Excuse me. Now right now, it's named by CMYK. If I wanted to give it an actual name, I could click this checkbox here, and I could call it maybe, let's say, Dusty Rose, okay? Click OK, and it's added to our swatch, like so, Okay, so what I'm going to do here now with this graphic that we created, I'm just going to place it over this graphic here. Now notice that it's not behind, and we do want it behind. So similar to Illustrator, what we do is we right click on this, go arrange, and either send backwards or send to back. Of course, sending backwards is one step. Like this. And I'm just going to put it in place generally how it should look. And let's take a look back here. And it's close to what it should be there. We'll leave it like that. Now notice that we have a couple lines here. There's a small line here and this small white line here. So I'm going to create both of those. So again, to do that, to create this line, I'm just going to use the rectangular frame tool again and just draw a very small line. Like so. And I think the first one was that green color. So attach my green color to it. Let's just take a look at it there. It might be too thin. So I'm just going to make that, drag it out a little bit and make it wider. Now it's not letting me. Sometimes if something's really small, you can't really modify it the way you want to, so you need to zoom in. Like so. If you still can't do that, what you could do is you could actually use the percentages up here. Okay. This is also under properties. We go to Window and Properties, which I do not see right now. Our Properties panel is replacing, it is actually attached to our toolbar up here. That's a preference through InDesign. So our properties are actually up here. Sometimes you can have it on the side here as a floating palette as well. So this 100% here, if I go, let's say 150, tab. I'm just going to zoom back out here. And this is linked. Okay, we want to unlink that. Just undo here. I want to go 150. Didn't really notice it too much. Let's go 200. And it's not going through. So ideally your percentages do work. Like I said, this version of InDesign needs an update. So I'm just going to redraw that here now. Like so. Creative Cloud, probably one of the worst things the design world has encountered in the last 20 years, 10, 20 years, in my opinion. Let's see here. Let's move that up here. Has had some advantages too, Creative Cloud that is. I'm going to zoom in a little quite far here. I'm just going to drag that down a little bit, like so. Not quite that far. I think we're pretty close on there now. And let's say that's the size that we needed. I'm going to go Command C, Command V, and I'm going to place that in about the same area. Zoom in again. Need to make that a little bit longer. Notice that it's only giving me the option to drag up or drag down. See that? So I'm going to need to zoom in further. And now it should let me. There we go. Should drag that across a bit. And zoom back out. And we're going to give this a white color here now. And that's about how it is in this design. Not looking for perfection in this example. Next is the Brad Stevens. That's what I did here. What you can do too, you can go copy and paste, or you can hold down Shift and Option, Shift Option drag to duplicate. Okay. So I'll put that note in here too. Duplicate. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to double click inside here. And if I double click twice, it'll highlight that word. If I go 3 times, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for that. So if you go 5 times, it'll highlight the whole paragraph, okay? Like so. But I'm just going to take this word out here now. And backspace till I just have the Brad Stevens. And now what I'm going to do, first of all, before I try to make this bigger, I'm going to reduce some size on my text frame because I don't need it, right? I don't want to use more than what I need to disrupt printing. Shift Option and drag to make that bigger. I'm just going to do that here. Just be 1 second here. What I'm actually going to do, Shift Option Command and drag it out. That will increase the size. Shift Option and Command. Shift Option Command for sizing, okay? Let's see what we have here. So that's aligned with the side there. Like so. And now we have this text here. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste this one. And just move it into place. And I'm just going to check the alignment here. And it's pretty close to where it needs to be there. What I'm going to do here too, is I'm just going to show you if we were actually copying and pasting text, some of the things that we might run into. So I'm just going to delete all this. And notice when I delete that text, the frame is still there, okay? And it is still a text frame. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to, first of all, see what happens if I make this frame smaller, okay? Let's say it's about half the size. And I'm just going to highlight all this text again. And copy. Now I'm going to try to paste it inside here. Command V. Now notice that when I try to paste it in there, the text frame doesn't extend, okay? It actually gets cut off. So Ellie, Lily, and Com. So Ellie, Lily, and Com. So about half the text is missing, okay? It only pastes to right here. Now notice when we go back here, and I try to click on that frame, notice that it has this red block, okay? This red block with the plus sign inside it means that there's more text not visible, okay? So let's put that here in a note. So red block plus sign inside text refers to text that is not visible, contained in block. Just put a like on that. So whenever you see this, that means there's something there that we can't see. So you never want to leave one of these, okay? So if I extend this back down, notice I still have a red block, keep extending, still have a red block. Now we go all the way down, and notice that the paragraph has ended. That's the right amount of text. The red block has disappeared, okay? I'm just going to shorten it up a little bit. I'm just going to save this. And again, for the last two portions here, this is the same deal where these are text frames and a graphic. So instead of actually placing these in here, because I have shown how to place that, we'll just copy and paste there, just not to make the demonstration too long. So one way that I can do this and highlight multiple graphics at the same time, I'm going to click on one, hold down Shift, and click on different pieces, okay? Like so. And usually you wait for them to highlight, and then you click, okay? And there's one last piece down here. Notice that it's highlighting right now. If I click there, I have everything. Command C, go back to this graphic here, and Command V. Now notice when we paste it, even though it's multiple objects, they're all still highlighted as one object, okay? This is the best time to move it. I wouldn't try to unclick and then move items, because then you'll have to move items individually. But where they're all highlighted, we can move them and place them all at the same time, like so, okay? And of course, everything within this is going to have the same alignment, same layout, because it was all highlighted at the same time. Okay, so now if I click off of this, we should be pretty close to what we had before. And I'm just going to drag this away from the main bar, and let's just take a look at the consistency. And what I can also do too here, guys, is I can go View, and Fit Page and Window. Fit Page and Window to have it at its actual size. You can also go Fit Spread and Window if there were more than one. If there was more than one page here, okay. What I'm going to do here is just drag this off of there and compare here. Now that they're the same size. Let's just minimize that a little bit. And as you can see here, both pages are fairly close on to being a duplicate. One thing I see here is this was up here, closer to the edge. But of course, the banner is a little bit different too, so we don't want to block all that text together. In this case, something acceptable too could be having this down here. I believe that could work there as well. Yeah, that would look fine there too as well. So that was a quick introduction demonstration to InDesign. Thanks.